This is Henry Truck with Equities.com. We're here at the 2013 REISA conference in Las Vegas. Joining me is Fred Baerenz. Hi Fred, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, glad to be here.
Fred is the CEO of AOG Wealth Management, and he's recently elected to the board for REISA. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So just to start off, Fred, can you tell us about AOG Wealth Management and what your focus is there?
Sure, we're a boutique wealth management firm located in Great Falls, Virginia. We work primarily with about 100 families. We manage around $200 million, and it's a combination of both an independent registered investment advisor with the SEC, as well as affiliated with Kalos Financial, which is a broker-dealer in Alpharetta, Georgia, specializing in the modified endowment model.
Can you talk about the modified endowment model and some of the makeups of that kind of portfolio?
Sure. Well, so many financial advisors and even individual investors have focused really on the three traditional asset classes of stocks, bonds, and cash. The success of the endowment model, relative to some troubled times for all three of the traditional asset classes, has led people to look for some other ways to invest, typically trying to get stock market type returns, but without the same volatility and fluctuations that one finds with a traditional stock portfolio. I believe the most faithful execution of the modified endowment model involves some relative illiquidity of direct investments, whether it be in real estate, oil and gas partnerships, private equity, private debt, or managed futures.
Mm-hmm. And looking at the REISA conference right now, obviously the atmosphere is much different from 2008, let's say. And that's actually a topic that you're discussing on one of the panels that you were speaking on. How has the vibe changed?
Well, it's entirely different. I was here in the heyday of the tenant common focus back in the early to mid 2000s. I distinctly recall watching the stock market, as it plunged in 2008, and hurried phone calls and checking portfolio values and so forth. The downturn of 2009 and 10 when attendance was so low, and now we're back to a time when there's a lot more health in the economy and in the investment platform. And so it's really a vibrant time, but we need to continue to learn from some of those mistakes and some things we could have done better, and then apply that as we go forward.
Mm-hmm. And based on the work you do at your firm and the clients that you deal with and the investors, have you noticed a demand for real estate or for alternative investments kind of come back during this time?
Oh, there's no question, and I think there's been a constant hunger. There's just been a lack of understanding as to how to find it. So many people assume that the major wirehouses are the highest and best intellectual capital in the world as far as investments. And sadly, they've decided to basically sit this one out for the last 20 years. So one has to go to the independent channel to find quality investments that are not your typical stocks, bonds, and cash. And so we're the repository of that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the advantages of investing in this space?
Well, if one looks at the impact of, say, just adding a simple asset class like real estate, everybody knows about real estate. Most people obviously have to live somewhere and often own their own home. Real estate has a different cyclical nature to it, and just by adding in quality institutional style real estate, one can do what you normally wouldn't expect is possible, and that is give someone the opportunity for a higher rate of return and actually reduce their risk. So you're accomplishing simultaneously.
And based on the conversations that we're hearing here, the regulatory environment right now, there's a lot of uncertainty there, but there's also a lot of opportunities potentially down the road. What are your thoughts and your perspective on this?
Well, I'm concerned that the Jobs Act wasn't nearly well thought out enough, and unfortunately it runs head-on into Frank Dodd. There was something like 100 reports that Frank Dodd required, Congress mandated the SEC prepare, and they're less than a third of the way through. And before they even finished that work, then with, I suppose it's hard to vote against something called the Jobs Act in an election year. But I'm just not sure how much thinking went into it. In some ways, it overturns 60 or 70 years of securities law and regulation. So it's a dynamic time, and fortunately we have some very, very bright people here. And it really is a confluence of people from all sectors of the investment world, as well as Joe Price, who's the head of enforcement for FINRA,
mm-hmm.
as well, and some state regulators who are here as well, representing NASA. So a lot of bright people, searching for solutions. The end goal is to provide investment opportunity to the public as safely and as consistently as possible. And so it's just a matter of resolving all those agendas.
Mm-hmm. And now for professionals in this industry, during these dynamic times, having a platform to basically gather them together to kind of stimulate some discussion there. It's pretty critical concerning what's going on.
I believe as a financial advisor, as in many businesses, you're either growing or shrinking. There's tremendous opportunity available to financial advisors today. However, there's a lot of risk. We've probably never had as much heightened supervision from a regulatory standpoint, which is good if it keeps out the bad actors, but unfortunately it places a tremendous burden on people who are very honest and are just trying to do the best for their clients. And so, with so many dynamics at work, it's important to, keep up with the trends. And so I allocate probably 10% of my time just to regulatory issues and to practice managed development. Again, we're a growing firm. We want to grow some more, but you have to know what you're doing, and so it's important to know the landscape.
Wonderful. Fred, any additional closing comments or any closing thoughts you want to tell our viewers?
Well, again, for the general public, I think you should demand for your portfolio, whether it's from your existing advisor or in the general marketplace, that you have opportunities to invest in things other than just stocks, bonds, and cash. Stocks are still the biggest part of our portfolio, but not the near overwhelming concentration as in the traditional allocations. I think there's a tremendous amount of literature on the bond bubble. So many people wish they could go back to 2004 and 5 and maybe not jump into quite as much residential real estate. Well, here's the next bubble that's coming. FINRA and the SEC warned about it. Chairman Bernanke has tried to encourage people to look at their bond portfolio, and I strongly encourage people to look at what could well be the next bubble. For 33 years now, we've basically made a lot of money in bonds, but with the rising interest rate environment, most people don't recognize the simple formula that with rising interest rates, oftentimes long-term bonds will lose value. So I encourage people to look at their portfolio, check with an advisor, and prepare accordingly.
That's wonderful, Fred. Great insight. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Appreciate it.
That's Fred Baerenz of AOG Wealth Management, and thank you all for watching.